The sky is a hard, cold blue. It is March 1943. At 20,000 feet, the air is thin and bitterly cold, minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. A formation of B-17, the flying fortresses. Their aluminum skins gleaming in the high-altitude sun, drones steadily through the ether. They are giants, but in this vastness, they look like a string of toys. We focus on one bomber, the Duchess. Ice crystals feather the edges of its wings and plexiglass nose. B-17T8EDHES, Oberobiodeio Statuio Lieutenant A James or 20s, bundled in a heavy, electrically heated suit. His breath fogging despite the oxygen mask, peers through a pair of mounted binoculars. His eyes are fixed on the ground far below. His face is a mask of fatigue and tension. They have been in the air for 8 hours. The interphone Sarutka less to life. Bombardiers VIC Savio target in sight. Ball-bearing factory, 10 o'clock low. Setting crosshairs, Howard adjusts the binoculars. He can see the factory complex, a collection of buildings and railway lines near the outskirts of Paris. It looks impossibly small. Howard via interphone, copy that. Pilot to crew, we're starting the run. Stay sharp. The plane enters its bomb run. The world outside seems to slow down. The constant, gentle swaying of the aircraft ceases as the pilot locks onto the autopilot, guided by the bombardier. The only sound is the deep, thrumming drone of the 4 Wright Cyclone engines and the constant, faint hiss of oxygen. Bombardiers VIC VO'd. Steady. Steady. Crosswinds are a bitch today. Compensating. Howard watches, his knuckles white. He can see puffs of black smoke beginning to dot the sky around them. Flak. The German anti-aircraft guns have found their range. A shell explodes close enough to make the Duchess shudder. A sharp PNGs of shrapnel hitting the fuselage rings out. Bombardiers VIC VO'd. Almost there, bombs away! There is a deep, mechanical CMK as the bomb bay doors open wider, followed by a series of heavy, metallic THMPs as the bombs release. The aircraft lurches upward, suddenly 10,000 pounds lighter. Howard immediately brings the binoculars back to his eyes, tracking the falling bombs. 12 500-pounders, tumbling end over end, growing smaller and smaller as they fall towards the earth. He holds his breath. The bombs shrink to specks. 30 seconds later, a chain of flashes erupts on the ground. But not on the factory. The explosions blossom in a neat, sequential line half a mile away, in the middle of a vast, empty wheat field. A perfect, useless pattern of brown earth and fire. Howard lowers the binoculars. He doesn't need them to see the factory, completely untouched, already receding behind them. He closes his eyes for a long moment. Howard via interphone, voice flat missed. We missed the whole damn thing. The interphone is silent for a beat. Radio operators voices or command is tallying results. Stand by. A few minutes pass. The flak has stopped. The immediate danger is over, leaving only the long, cold flight home. Radio operators voice VO sounding defeated. Pilot. Command reports of 228 bombers on target, only 19 scored hits within the factory complex. Effective success rate 8%. A bitter, humorless laugh comes over the interphone from someone. OAD 8%. And command back in Washington will call that a good day. He stares out at the endless formation of bombers around him, a vast, glittering cloud of aluminum and hope, returning from a mission that had, for the most part, failed. Pentagon Biofangrarum, left a stuffy, wood-panelled room in Washington, D.C. Smoke hangs in the air. A General 50s. Impeccably dressed, stands before a map of Europe. He points confidently to charts and models. General, the concept is irrefutable. Precision daylight bombing. We fly high, we fly fast, we put a bomb squarely on the roof of Hitler's war machine. The Norden bombsight makes it possible. Pickle, barrel accuracy. Gentlemen, we can drop a bomb into a pickle barrel from 4 miles up. He gestures to a schematic of the Norden bombsight. general with this. We can dismantle their industry, factory by factory, without the indiscriminate area bombing our British allies' favour. This is how we win the war. Cleanly. Efficiently. The audience of politicians and senior officers nods, impressed. The charts show neat lines converging on perfect targets. There are no flak guns on these charts, no clouds, no crosswinds. AXD. Ergilaisko NTROCD Dawai Motachi, a series of quick cuts, AB-17 limping home. One engine dead, a gaping hole in its tail. Medics helping a bloodied gunner out of a ball turret. A crewman tracing the outline of a shrapnel hole with his finger, his face numb with exhaustion. A chaplain standing before rows of empty cots, waiting for men who will not return, SINT. Baar Ace KS Guinness. Howard sits on the edge of his cot, writing a letter. The room is full of other crewmen, but it is quiet. Howard, AVO, writing, Dear Eleanor, another mission today. We're all back safe, which is the only thing that matters. Sometimes I wonder what the people on the ground think, watching our bombs fall. We're supposed to be hitting factories, but so often we just seem to be ploughing fields with high explosives. He looks up as a young bombardier, Frank, Sir 20'd, sits down heavily on the cot opposite. Frank's hands are shaking. Frank, we hit a school. Or a hospital. I don't know. It was near the factory. And the smoke just covered everything at the last second. I had to guess. I think I guessed wrong. Howard doesn't reply. There's nothing to say. He just gives a slow, sympathetic nod. This is the reality the charts in Washington never show. INT. AIRCUR AFD Hangar DAY. An armed guard stands watch as a bombardier, Lieutenant CHR Lesmar PHY-20s, stands at attention before his squadron commander. A locked metal case sits on a table between them. Kiame NDR Lieutenant Murphy, you have been chosen for this sacred trust. You will safeguard the secrets of this device with your life. Murphy places his hand on the case. Mamar PHY swear, upon my honour, to never reveal any details of the Norden bombsight, and to destroy it with the thermite charge, provided should our aircraft be in danger of capture. The commander unlocks the case. Inside, nestled in custom-cut foam, is the Norden bombsight, a complex, gleaming piece of brass, glass, and gears. It looks like a futuristic telescope. Siamadar this, sun, is what will win the war. Phi-NT. G-Armen and G-I-N-E-R-I-Go F-I-C-E-D-A-Y-F-L-A-H-B-F Cash, a group of G-Armen A-N-G-I-N-E-Rs in lab coats pore over detailed blueprints spread across a large table. The blueprints are clearly for the Norden bombsight. E-N-G-I-N-E-R Fei-1s are shaking his head. The American design is intricate, but it is a solution for perfect conditions. He pushes the blueprints aside. In G-I-N-E-R Fei-1 we have the Lofi 7. It is robust. It works in the real world. Let them have their pickle barrel. We will shoot them out of the sky long before they can aim. Sevi XT. SKYOVR Jaram Wes, the Duchess, is on another bomb run. The flak is intense. Black oily smudges of explosions fill the sky. The plane is buffeted violently. B-17, THE-DHES, BOMBRDIO Stadon, DAW Murphy is now in the bombardier's position, his face pressed to the Norden's eyepiece. He is trying to keep the crosshairs on a factory complex. MAR-PH, Weir! Interphone, I'm losing it! Pilot, can you hold her steady? Howard Obe. We're a sitting duck, Murphy! They've got our range! The plane jolts again. Through the nose. Murphy sees white smoke beginning to pour from generators around the factory. Within moments, the entire target is obscured by a thick, artificial fog. Mummy RPHY frustrated, damn it. Target is obscured. I can't see a thing. He slams his fist against the fuselage. The Norden is useless without a visual. RCXT. GRMN fell AK Bake Bay, Defeyway, a battery of German 80 mm of flak guns fires in a synchronized rhythm. The gunners work with efficient precision. AOFICR reads data from a nearby radar truck. FLAG OFICR altitude 25,000 feet, speed 280 km per hour. Fire for effect. The guns roar. sending shells screaming skyward. They are not aiming at individual planes, but filling a cube of airspace with shrapnel. SINT. B-17, THDHESS, DAWES, the sound is deafening. A continuous THUNDR mixed with the sound of 1,000 hammers on metal. CRWBUNDO. Left wing took a hit. Number 2 engine is streaming oil. A piece of shrapnel tears through the fuselage and a navigator. SAPAIN RABLI LIMS A30S clutches his arm, blood seeping through his flight suit. He grits his teeth and goes back to his charts. INT. BRIEFNEAO OM engine JLAE. A grim-faced intelligence officer stands before a room of weary airmen, including Howard and Williams, whose arm is in a sling. INTLOFICR the 1st Schweinfurt raid, August 43. We dropped 724 tons of bombs. Less than 200 hit the factory complex. The rest hit the town, the countryside, a church built in the 14th century. We lost 60 bombers. 600 men. The factories were back at full production in 6 weeks. A stunned silence fills the room. Howard looks at the faces of his comrades. The cost is written in their eyes. They are flying and dying for nothing. AXT, SKYOVRST DINFRT DAYOCTOBR 1943 Chaos. The second raid on Schweinfurt is a slaughter. German Fock, Wolf fighters slash through the bomber formations. B-17s are spiraling down, trailing fire and smoke. B-TNTHE Damsel, CHOCPAITEY, this is the lead aircraft of the 305th Bomb Group. Williams, the navigator, is frantically checking his charts. The pilot, a veteran, looks tense. YLAM's pilot, we're off course! We're approaching the initial point from the northeast, not the north. Wind correction was wrong. We're coming in at a 40-degree angle. Pilot, it's too late to turn back now. The whole group is following us. We're committed. Williams looks at his calculations, then out the window at the flak, filled sky. An idea, born of pure desperation, begins to form. While IMS, then we'll do it sideways. Murphy, you listening? SINT, B-17, THDAMCL, Bombardier Assistant Awised Murphy in the nose. Here's Williams over the interphone. PHY, I hear you. What's the play? Well, IMS, the crosswind is fierce from the west. If we aim directly at the factory, the bombs will drift a mile east. So don't aim at the factory. PHY what? While IMs aim at that railroad junction to the west of the complex. Use it as your offset point. Let the wind carry the bombs from there onto the factory. Murphy stares at the bomb site. This goes against everything he's been trained to do. He's supposed to aim at the target. Always. PHY, you want me to aim at a railroad yard half a mile away. While IMs, I want you to trust the math, Charlie. Trust the wind, aim at the yard, and let the wind do the work. Murphy takes a deep breath. He adjusts the knobs on the Norden, his hands moving with a new, uncertain purpose. He finds the railroad junction in his crosshairs. It feels wrong, deeply wrong. PHY via interphone, tracking offset point, bombs away. The bombs fall away from the damsel. The entire formation following them toggles their bombs in response. DES EXT. SKYOVRCHGVENFURT. D. The bombs from the 305th group fall in a long, graceful arc. The fierce westerly wind catches them, pushing them sideways as they fall. They drift, as if guided by an invisible hand, from the empty railroad yard directly into the heart of the ball-bearing factory. A chain of explosions walks neatly through the complex. Workshops vanish in plumes of fire and smoke. It is the most accurate strike of the entire day. SINT. Piechoto NNL Wysis Lobe DNDL and DNNL West T holds up 2 sets of aerial photographs. One shows a typical bomb pattern, scattered and random, with most hits outside the factory. The other shows the 305th's results. A tight line of craters running through the center of the factory. ANLWST, this is unprecedented. The 305th achieved a 42% hit rate. The rest of the force averaged 8. Howard and Williams are in the room, having been summoned. Howard Howe, Williams steps forward, holding up his navigator's notepad, covered in frantic calculations. While IM's crosswind. The Norden assumes you're flying straight at the target. But when you're crabbing into a crosswind, the site's calculations are off. We didn't fight the wind. We used it. We aimed away from the target and let the drift carry the bombs onto it. The analyst stares at the calculations, then back at the photos. ANLSTU weaponized the weather, the INT. CLASROMF Florida, DUA, YNTR 1943's Williams stands before a chalkboard covered in wind triangles and geometric diagrams. The room is filled with bombardiers and navigators. Well, IAMs forget what you know. Your instinct is the enemy. Your instinct says I'm at the target. From now on, your instinct is wrong. He draws a diagram showing an aircraft approaching at a 45-degree angle to the wind. While IAMs, the bombardier tracks a reference point here. The navigator calculates the wind speed and direction. The pilot holds the heading, no matter what. The bombs release, and the wind pushes them. Here. Right onto the factory. One of the student bombardiers, a young lieutenant, looks skeptical. Student bombardier, sir, with all due respect. It feels like we're just guessing sideways. Williams erases the blackboard. Well, IAMs, it's not a guess. It's geometry. And it's the difference between hitting a factory and killing civilians. Now, everyone, calculate the offset angle for a 90-mile-per-hour crosswind at 25,000 feet. You have 60 seconds. The room erupts in a flurry of slide rules and frantic scribbling. Sisti XT. Bambayeng, Rangieliesh Kurest, DAYs, a formation of B-17s practices the new technique over the North Sea. They approach a floating target from an angle. Bombs fall, caught by the wind, and walk across the water, converging on the target. SINT, B-17, THEDUS, Shioske Device Howard is at the controls. Murphy is in the nose. Williams is at his navigator station. Well, IMS, we are interphone, pilot, new heading 275. Bombardier. Your offset point is the lighthouse on the headland. Wind is 95 miles per hour from the north. Howard copy, new heading 275. Holding steady. Murphy's voice comes over the interphone, calm now, confident. Mummy PHY, I have the lighthouse. Tracking steady bombs away! Howard feels the aircraft lift. He allows himself a small, tight smile. They are learning. They are adapting. SciNT. Kiam Mdamian de Gauata Jubastuninaural Gemamas Doo Attle studies a massive operations map. His aide, Bragai Inrelfadandason, stands beside him. Dole ITDLE, this offset data is the real thing, Fred. I want it implemented. Theatre-wide. I want every bombardier and navigator retrained in 6 weeks. Anderson looks like he's just been ordered to move a mountain. And also 6 weeks. Sir, that's ambitious. Doolittle fixes him with a steely gaze. Doel, we're losing this war with the old way, General. This is the new way. Get it done. XT. Nara Mduel Jadal NJUNE 6 1944 Hours of D-Day. The sky is overcast, gloomy. The sea below is a vast armada of ships. The coastline is wreathed in cloud. SciNT. B-17 Page for DRAIFT FIOCKPT Daywaish. This aircraft is equipped with a large, bulbous radome under its nose. The bombardier stares at a fuzzy green radar screen, trying to interpret the ghostly image of the French coast. Pate HFINDR bombardier, I have a shoreline return. I think that's the mouth of the Via River. Using that as offset point for Utah Beach fortifications. The formation flies on, invisible to the Germans below, their bombs primed to destroy the coastal guns before the first landing craft hits the sand. AS-EXT. UTHB-HDAD. The bombs from the offset approach fall. They drift with the wind, slamming directly into the German gun emplacements. Concrete bunkers are pulverized. Guns are silenced. When the first American troops land at Utah Beach, they encounter only light resistance. The path has been cleared. EXT. Omer BHDAY. Qenterestia here the bombing was less effective. Some bombardiers, fearful of hitting the approaching landing craft, held their bombs a few seconds too long. The bombs fell inland, missing most of the fortified positions. The result is a bloody chaos. American soldiers are cut down by machine gun fire as they wade ashore. The cost of a missed calculation is measured in lives. Post INVSAUN LS IROOM JLY 1945 Fez an officer points to two-side, bite-side maps Utah and Omaha. OFAF ISAR Utah Beach offset bombing approaches. Executed as trained. 89% of fortifications neutralized. Omaha Beach traditional approaches with safety delays. 31% effectiveness. He looks around the room. OFICR, the difference is not marginal, gentlemen. It is decisive. Air XT. SKY over Baramamd AY, 1945 of the war is winding down. A massive formation of B-17s, now battle, hardened and efficient, flies towards its target. The flak is lighter. The Luftwaffe is a ghost. INTB. 17 Bombardier State Ion, AEAA new, young bombardier goes through the now, standardized routine. YUN Bombardiers via interphone navigator request wind check for offset approach. Navigators away O copy. Wind is 75 from the west. Your offset point is the water tower, 3 miles west, southwest. The bombardier adjusts his sight, aiming not at the oil refinery below, but at a distant water tower. He releases the bombs. They fall away, curving gracefully on the wind, and detonate with devastating accuracy inside the refinery. The technique has become routine. The innovation has become doctrine. SOINT, Stiatagiar Faman Brayafangarom, a 1955 a new generation of airmen. Now flying the massive B-52 Stratofortress is being briefed. A schematic of the AN/ASQ-38 bombing system is on the screen. BRIF and UFIFR, the system automatically identifies radar offset points and calculates drift. The principle, however, remains the same as it was in 1943. You use the wind. You don't fight it. A young pilot raises his hand. Yoan Pilot, sir, with all due respect, why are we learning this? We have nuclear weapons. Don't we just point and shoot? The briefing officer gives a grim smile. Barai Fangiof ICR son, in a war with the Soviets, your GPS will be jammed. Your radar will be spoofed. Your fancy computers might just shut down. But the wind will still blow. And the geometry will still work. This isn't a backup. This is a primary weapon. Now, let's review wind triangles. TXTSKY over R Nord H Vietnam IGHT 1960H, a cell of B-52s. Invisible in the darkness at 30,000 feet. Flies over the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The monsoon winds howl outside. EINT. E50P in Igishtia. The radar navigator studies his screen. Radar navigator, I have a good return from the karst ridge. Using that as offset point for the suspected truck park. Crosswinds are significant. 110 knots. The pilot makes a slight adjustment. Pilot copy. Commencing offset run. The bombs fall from the B-52s, their trajectories calculated to use the fierce, unpredictable winds as a guide. They are still hitting targets they cannot see, using a principle born of desperation over Schweinfurt. SINT. B2 Spiriti STAL THBAMBR Kyoshabe SNant DY. The cockpit is a futuristic panorama of digital screens. The single pilot, clad in a modern flight suit, monitors the systems. Meson Kurum Amanspo over radio, be advised, target area is GPS denied. Heavy jamming expected. Switch to passive offset mode. The pilot taps a screen. A synthetic aperture radar image appears, showing a stark, detailed picture of the ground below. The computer automatically highlights a potential offset reference point. A distinct geographical feature. Pilot Roger. I have the offset point. The dam. 2 miles north, northwest. Calculating drift, solution locked. The bomber, a ghost in the night, releases its weapons without emitting a single signal. The bombs fall, guided by nothing but pre-programmed geometry and the certainty of physics, just as they did 80 years before. As EXT. Desart Bambi ING per Ersandewi, a young Air Force navigator, using a tablet computer, is teaching a group of new recruits. Navigator, And when all the satellites are down and the lasers won't paint, you go back to this. He holds up a simple diagram of a wind triangle, identical to the one Williams drew on a chalkboard in 1943. Never the math doesn't change. The wind doesn't care about your technology. You can either fight it, or you can use it. The crews who learned that, they're the reason we're here today. The recruits lean in, studying the simple lines and angles that once, and still, decide the fate of battles. The camera pulls back, leaving the recruits with their lesson, and rises into the sky, until the world below is just a map, and the endless, prevailing winds continue to blow, waiting for the next navigator, the next bombardier, the next desperate innovator to listen to their whisper, and turn them into a weapon.